Welcome to Happily Ever Aftermath.
The podcast where we discuss relationships in movies and our relationships with them.
I'm Polina Grenbaum.
And I'm Diana Rojek-Sconard.
Hello, Diana.
Polina, I'm not sure how I should feel that you ran to get some scotch before we hit record.
You should be impressed with my commitment to getting through talking about Mannequin.
Still,
it drives me to drink. This movie has driven me to drink.
Okay.
Though, frankly,
there go my feelings.
I will.
But it's okay.
Frankly, everything drives me to drink. Good things, bad things, life.
Well, it's okay though, because like if someone else enters the room, I will just freeze, and then we'll just have you talking to a mannequin.
Right, and then they'll think I'm drunk, and that is how we'll deal with the awkwardness of the situation.
So we're talking about Mannequin.
Right, we are. 1987's Mannequin.
Polina's sobriety aside, let me say a couple of things about Mannequin. This is from the Google search. 1987. Jonathan Switcher, Andrew McCarthy, previously seen in Pretty in Pink, that we talked about before.
Right.
An unemployed artist finds a job as an assistant window dresser for a department store. When Jonathan happens upon a beautiful mannequin he previously designed, she springs to life and introduces herself as Emmy, Kim Cattrall, an Egyptian under an ancient spell. Despite interference from the store's devious manager, James Spader, Jonathan and his mannequin fall in love while creating eye-catching windows displays to keep the struggling store in business. I mean, I will make note, James Spader was also in Pretty in Pink.
Right.
And we talked about him in Secretary. I mean, he was in Secretary before.
Right.
But I also want to point out the other people who are in this movie. I mean, you've got Estelle Getty.
Right.
Yes.
Total treat,
yes.
Honestly.
And then total props to Meshach Taylor.
Right.
And what I think is kind of funny,
Hollywood, who's sort of the gay sidekick.
I guess that would be an accurate. I think you want to say gay stereotype sidekick.
Yes. Sorry. The stereotype was silent, though not very silent. Yes,
definitely no air quotes around that.
No. No, like every nightmare of a gay sidekick.
Well, we'll get into Hollywood in a minute.
Yeah.
There was also G.W. Bailey, which many people know from the Police Academy movies, but my husband and I really enjoyed him in The Closer, the TV series with Kira Sedgwick that was on TNT.
Which I never really watched, but I actually my dad and I watched a lot of Police Academy movies. That was like a big part of kind of things we did together.
Oh, I learn more about you each time we record.
Yeah.
And then also I want to point out, Carole Davis, who played Roxy, the girlfriend.
Yeah.
And then Steve Vinovich.
Wasn't she in Pretty... Did I read something where she was in Pretty in Pink, too?
I don't know about that, but I was trying to figure out, how else do I know her? I don't know. But she was in an episode of Sex and the City, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Oh, maybe that's it. I'm, getting two stars confused. I think you might be right.
That
or
works.
Maybe both. Maybe she was in both. I don't know.
Sure, but...
I'm sorry, Carol, that I didn't... I'm sorry, Miss Davis. I did not look... Did not do my due diligence on you.
Well, I mean, there's only so much research that we can do.
Yes, it's true.
And
it's true, we do so much.
But this is kind of thing. Allow me to get started just a little bit early here. So a series of unfortunate events, not the book or the TV show or the movie, but just life in general of unfortunate events made it so we didn't get to record when we had originally had on our calendar.
Right.
Because my calendar told me yes, and my calendar didn't tell your calendar that we were doing that.
No, our calendars were not on speaking terms that week. It was really, it was awkward. I mean, since then, I feel like we facilitated,
I haven't.
Their reunion. You're still, your calendar's still talking trash about my calendar?
No, there's no trash talking. The point is, what I was trying to get at was, had we recorded when we originally planned,
right?
My opinions would have been different.
Oh, interesting.
Because I've had the opportunity to sit on this movie for a week. And I've been thinking about it and chewing on it. So as I was watching it at the time, I had all of these original conflicting thoughts coming through. And you can, for those of you who can find him on Twitter, you can ask Ryan. The whole time I was just kind of pausing it and okay, I need a minute as I was going through. And then I would get through more of it. And I kept pausing it. I'm just I need to brush this off. I don't know what's happening right now. And then we would get to the end. And then I was just oh, here it is. here's that familiar feeling that I understand. And then the end happened, and I'm just like, oh, okay. And then the recording thing didn't happen. But every day, nothing's going to stop us now has been going through my head.
Now I'm really glad that actually I didn't get... Because part of this is I didn't get a chance to watch it until right before our current recording time.
So you haven't had the chance to let that marinate into your bones?
At the time, I thought I was making a smart choice. I was so tired yesterday. I was so tired on other times where I could have watched this movie, and I I was like, I'm not in the right headspace. But now I actually wish I had a little more time to marinate, because I am like gobsmacked.
Okay.
Really. That's my entire reaction.
Well, I'm going to take that as a positive. Put the scotch down. I'm going to take your comment as positive.
Right.
And what's really funny...
I'm still processing.
You can process.
Yeah. But I can process during this podcast.
Okay. So what matters to me is I realized as I was going through.
Right. I'm super curious to see this progression now. I want to hear what happened between... my child
day
and today. Well, I want to hear what happened between my childhood, this time, and then since you watched it.
All right. So to start,
right.
Your original questions, which I know you will have.
Oh yes, I will. You know them.
I did not have this on any type of format. This was one that was just constantly playing on cable.
Right.
This is a PG movie, and I'm just like, what? No, because a lot of it was just kind of like. Weirdly, like
I'm trying to remember when PG-13 came in.
Oh, we talked about that 1984.
Oh yes.
So no, this was definitely post.
Now I forget.
No,
yes,
no,
it must have been.
No, it was definitely after. I looked that up. I'm just like, how is this PG?
Yeah.
Secondly, I have
it's a lot of titties.
No recollection of the Italian guy character whatsoever. The guy who was perpetually sexually harassing Roxy.
Oh my God.
This guy. I'm like, I don't know this guy. I have no idea who this is.
I think this is an excellent example of the brain, of the human brain protecting itself.
Well, self-editing.
Right.
Self-editing.
No, you're protecting yourself. Well,
here's what also doesn't help, Polina.
What?
Again, if I'm just catching this on cable, it's always a flipping through situation. Right. So, like, a large portion of this movie is just like, I don't remember this because I've already missed it.
Well, and also, I mean, it's like, I think we've discussed this, that especially that, like, particularly in the 80s and a lot of the 80s movies that we've watched, and also because they probably a longer time has elapsed since we watched them, like the casual sort of, kind of attitude towards sexual harassment is like a kind of a prevailing theme, like when you watch it. So what I wonder is, you probably saw the Italian guy like in one scene, and you're like, oh, this is the scene where someone like, where the man tries to hit on the woman and the woman pushes him away, but you don't see like, oh, it's every link, like it's 5, 6, 7, 8 times, like every time you see him.
I'm about to not blow your mind, Polina.
Okay.
Well, you know how I like to selectively watch parts of movies?
Yes.
He was in none of them.
Yes, I do not blame you. Every time you came on, I was like, oh, please, 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 please. I debated fast forwarding through it.
Well, it's not like Long Duck Dong, where you could probably quote some of it, and then as it's coming out of your mouth, they're like, oh my God, what did I just say? I'm like, no. I told Ryan, I have no recollection of this guy.
Yeah, because
at all.
This movie, so I'm pretty shocked I haven't seen this movie. And then I want to see how you see it. So it's 1987.
Yes.
So I would have been like 13, 14, which I think is probably like in reality, first off, already Andrew McCarthy liked, probably would have been the...
This is like prime teenage absorbing brat pack years.
Right. I never saw this movie, and I was actually trying to figure out why recently.
Were you more into Less Than Zero?
Yes, that's the thing.
I missed that one.
I'm going to say, actually, maybe best. That movie is super triggering.
I saw that movie, like, years later, and I'm just like, I don't like any of this.
I'm so glad that... I read the book, because I was super into the Bret Easton Ellis, but... Anyway, but I read the book and then watched the movie. Like, why did I do this to myself? I have no idea. Obviously, my love for those two actors overrode whatever. I don't know. Self-protection I had. But here's the thing. So... I think so. I have two issues. So I have two things. I think one, I probably saw the trailer and was like, "Oh my god, this is so dumb." I would like to think that, but actually, probably what happened, and I'm going to guess, is at some point we were watching like Ebert and Roper on a Sunday.
There couldn't have been Ebert and Roper.
Oh, you're right.
Then.
I know. I always do that. Siskel and Ebert. I was watching Siskel and Ebert, and they probably covered this movie, and my parents probably were like, "Oh my god, this is terrible," and I'd be too embarrassed to admit to them that I watched this movie. That is my guess.
So wait, we would be
I don't have this is a theory.
You would have been too embarrassed to admit that you had seen it had they asked, or you would have been too embarrassed to ask, "Can we go see this?" Or both.
Both. I mean, either one. So because at some point we would have I would have gone to the movies with a friend, right?
Yeah. But then they would have asked. So like it wouldn't occur to you to see this movie and then lie?
No, because then what would we talk about?
The fake movie you saw?
It's impossible to sustain this kind of conversation with my parents. They would have they're not, they're not Cliff Notes kind of people.
I can't imagine that this movie that has 19% on Rotten Tomatoes got 2 thumbs down from Siskel and Ebert.
I'm shocked, I tell you. I actually read a review from, I think, from Roger Ebert.
And it was glowing?
Oh, he just really felt like the nuance of the film, how it really explored relationships between men and women in this really nuanced and interesting way. He really it really spoke to him.
It's interesting that you bring that up.
I'm kidding. It was a terrible review.
Okay, well, see,
amusingly terrible.
See, you can start making a joke, but I'm going to snap in with something that's kind of important. I'm going to use it as a segue. Okay.
Right.
So what's kind of funny is that I'm probably watching this around like 9 years old.
Yeah.
And what I think is kind of interesting is that at the time, looking at this particular relationship in my young self, I thought it was kind of amazing that her story is kind of a metaphor for being an introvert. And in turn, she only knows how to open up in a very specific audience. And I thought it was kind of amazing. And in turn, for their particular relationship, I mean, like, can you imagine?
No, that actually makes sense. I mean, because there's some other interesting thing, like if you remove yourself.
Right. So there's their version of it. And then there's also the other side of it, of him just being able to... See, what's kind of great is that when she comes alive, she also tries to push him outwards to like, you also need to do this without me. So, he goes on and he still kind of thrives in it with his career. And she's like, see, you can do it without me. So, young me, that really spoke to me. And I kind of absorbed all of these pieces.
Wait, so which part? Like the part where basically it was like, here's someone, is it that thing about being seen? And sort of somebody like going, oh, here you are, you're really like, you can do this thing on your, it's like that sort of that love kind of supports you and makes you your best self and kind of gives you the strength to go out and do something.
Well, that's how it is on one side, but on the other side, I was thinking more of the introvert section.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so imagine me sitting on the carpet at 9 years old, absorbing all of that. Yeah. I wasn't, by the way. I just decided I want to make this movie deeper than it actually was.
No, but actually, you might have, because as you said, you watched this over and over again, and I found now thinking about it, like I think one of the things that is.
I'd like to state for the record really quickly.
Right.
I did not absorb that when I was a little girl because this movie is like 80% montages.
That's actually true. But, okay, let me ask you also.
That is adult me trying to justify this movie right now.
Also, well, no, but actually that was one of my thoughts about this movie actually does have to do with his kind of creative evolution.
Okay.
And hers. Like her as sort of a character participating in that. But first, was there an attraction, because you saw this when you were 9-ish, and which makes total sense to me, to like this movie when not just because there's the thing about did you have any fantasies that about the like kind of being trapped, not trapped, but like being able to be in a store overnight and be able to sort of like the store is your playground?
No.
Like
that sounds like fun.
Right. Like
I'd want a Costco.
Right. But like I that part really is, that is kind of a pleasure in this movie, as much as they were like the most insane montages. that pleasure was sort of the, like, to me, made this movie watchable. Because it was like, there is kind of a fantasy of, I mean, there's, like, I don't know, doing windows, I think, like, is kind of a dream job in a way. Like, I wouldn't be great at it, so I couldn't do it, but it's really fun. Because it's playing with, maybe I think I'm, my sort of consumerist tendencies,
Well, it
are stronger than yours, I think.
It did seem kind of amazing,
right?
That whole situation.
It's kind of a night museum sort of thing, except like not in a museum.
No, department store.
Yeah, and
a failing department store.
I also remember going to Wanamaker's. Like, so I spent a lot of time in Philadelphia.
Oh, okay.
And so this movie was delightful for that reason.
Very
like,
nice.
I'm like, oh, it's just like a part of Philadelphia that I remember. Too, was the Philadelphia I remember. It was the Philadelphia of like the 80s and 90s.
The time when you were alive. Got it.
Right, yeah. Or like the time I lived near it.
I know.
Right. And so we used to go there all the time and like, because we were 40 minutes away from it. I just remember going to Wanamaker's, and I had forgotten about going to Wanamaker's. But we didn't really buy much there, probably.
Did you wander through?
Yeah, totally.
So you were why they were failing in this movie.
Yeah, actually, I was. Like, you're right. We never would. Yeah, because it was. But we did. Frankly, we didn't go to the. We bought our stuff.
Well, that was one of the disconnects about this movie for me. It's just like, oh my god, if they see this amazing display, they'll come and they'll shop. I'm like, no, they'll come and look and then they'll leave.
The whole premise of the fact that basically these window dressers are like setting the world on fire. The whole practicality of this is crazy. But I remember one of my favorite sort of memories of being a kid is like going to New York City around the holidays and going and looking at all the window displays, right? Like you would go down to like, you go to Macy's and Bloomie's, and it was like Neiman Marcus, like that was a real, and people would be like,
Hovered?
They would be hovered. Like there wouldn't be, not in the summer, but it would be like people would stop and look at windows. And I remember even when I like living in New York City and seeing like coverage of windows, window displays,
nice.
On occasion when you would open the newspaper.
And now you just go to Reddit.
Right.
And you look at people's pictures.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, yes, entertainment's come a long way.
I think so.
But it was kind of ridiculous that like everything in this city sort of was like, if only we had the right window displays.
Yes, exactly. That's totally what's needed. I also didn't remember that he was the one who designed her and created her.
Right.
Yeah. So, like, again, this was like pre-stuff. I didn't remember his montage of getting fired and fired and fired. I just knew that he was trying to make his way up. And in turn, I wrote down that...
He did? Oh, my God. Is this our first firing montage?
I don't know about the firing. It could
unemployment montage?
I don't think that's quite right. I mean, there's usually like... Well, maybe whether or not we've covered it. But there has been the whole... constant rejection montage. I don't know if it's employment.
Oh, you're right.
I don't know if it's employment or possibly like bad dates or anything like that. Oh, bad date montage. That was in Secretary, back to James Spader. So that's helpful. But I wrote down, and this is really important, movies like this are why millennials are pissed off about working, because it's just like, oh my God, he did one thing. That's amazing. I'm making you to this promotion right here. And then 2 weeks later, I'm making you our vice president in charge of merchandising or something to that effect.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, it's been like, how long has this movie been going on? 45 minutes? So that's like, what, 6 weeks at most?
Also, it's like the Peter principle at work. He has no actual experience managing. He has no budgetary, like, in fact...
He was stealing merchandise.
Yeah.
And, like, various things. And she was really excited to learn power tools.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't blame her.
I'm actually getting to the point where I'm thinking she's too good for him.
Oh, completely.
Which I should have known.
Well, so one of the things that I found strange is I'm like, and he never really claims credit, but essentially she comes up with all of the ideas.
Half and half, because if you remember, he's like, I can't do this without you. Yeah,
maybe.
the first time, yeah.
So you're right.
He actually woke up and it was there.
Yeah.
the first time.
Right. But it's like, I kind of still feel like she does literally like 80% of it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, I agree with you.
And she knows how to build everything. Like, she's the one who came up with the whole tennis racket thing out of nothing.
Yep. She
Pretty
also
genius.
she also was friends with Michelangelo.
Right.
In previous lives. I don't want to gloss over the horrifically messed up whole idea that she came from Egypt, and I think it's great that she was trying to get out of a arranged marriage or something to that effect. At the same time, though, King Cattrall did not come from Egypt.
No, and neither. It's like,
but
and not only that, how did she like? She's a really fast learner if she's like knows everything about Philadelphia in 1986 or something when this was written.
Well, she doesn't know everything because she was like freaking out about how certain things were made, but she grasps it really quickly. So,
but like, sure, but she knows the language. Her English, like her way of speaking is quite modern. It's not like stilted, or it seems like it comes out of book. I don't know, whatever. Well, it doesn't matter.
To be fair, back then it was pretty modern. When she was back in ancient times, it was still pretty modern language.
Yeah.
She was gonna have to be marrying a camel dung salesman.
That's very true.
And they spoke English there.
Spoke, yeah, of course they did.
She spoke Philadelphia-ese.
Yeah.
Back in ancient Egypt.
Yeah. She's speaking English with an American, I would like a East Coast accent.
Yeah.
But taking all that aside, so you watched it, you think just in bits. Like, you don't think you ever, like, probably rarely sat down and watched the whole movie.
Oh, Lord, no. I would say that the bits that I watched were the last 15 minutes, and that includes all of the credits because the music would keep going.
Because you like the song.
I liked that song.
Wow.
Yeah. And in fact, when I was talking about it with some family that I was seeing over the weekend, we were talking about music videos.
Right.
And it just became the whole like, oh, sometimes the music video is so amazing you don't realize that it's just a generic pop song, and then you just associate that. And I'm just like, yeah, that's absolutely it. Because I watched Mannequin, I'm like, I don't like this movie. This isn't as great as I remember. End of the thing happens and the song plays on. I love this movie. This movie's fantastic. Remember the part where she was about to die and then she didn't?
And then she didn't?
No.
That was actually very difficult. I was like, I mean, I knew she wasn't going to die, but I couldn't quite, like...
I don't understand.
It was watching all those, like, leg part get...
Shredded?
Shredded? Oh.
Okay, so what I don't understand is how is her becoming human make her easier to pull up? I mean...
I don't understand. I guess she can help, but wouldn't she be heavier?
That was always what... I didn't like it when I was younger.
Yeah, because she still doesn't have anything to hold.
He can easily carry her. And in fact, other parts that I remember...
Why is it so difficult to pick her up? Is it like...
All the montages of him taking her into a closet and people listening to them having sex.
Yeah.
It wasn't a montage. It was just random. I made it a montage in my head, and now I'm ashamed of myself.
No, I get it. It makes sense because you need to organize this movie in some way, and that you could. And if the montage is your organizing principle, then I'm gonna.
So in this movie consisted of a jealous ex-girlfriend, a fantastic Meshach Taylor playing Hollywood Montrose, and then a mannequin and Andrew McCarthy. Oh, and then G.W. Daly, who was always screaming, "She's the dummy." I didn't even remember the dog parts.
That's pretty surprising.
That poor dog.
I know. What happened to the dog?
Well, the dog got traumatized because the dog came to life.
I mean, I don't really blame him.
Yeah.
But, I mean, frankly, it's a dog. Like, it should be able to go with it. Weird shit happens in human life. Like, why would that be, like... do dogs really... It didn't hurt him. Wouldn't dogs be like, nah, humans, I don't know. Things...
That dog was traumatized.
Okay, you're probably right.
Poor dog.
So you were saying that you had all these like. So when you first watch it, you're like, "This is not the movie I remember," which I completely sympathize with. But yeah, what were you having like the hardest? What were the parts where you're like, just want to like get up? I can't deal with this.
I don't like embarrassing scenarios. So when he is getting embarrassed because he's like talking to a mannequin and people think he's well, he actually is having relations with the mannequin, but it's just like, no, it's fine when no one else is around. But like when people are kind of aware of what I'm doing, now I'm just embarrassed.
Yeah, that part was awkward too.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I guess it's supposed to be the funny part, but I just was having a hard time finding it funny.
But also, these people, like, first of all, I'm not a fan of well, he's a creative genius and he's making it so we all have jobs, so let's just let him be eccentric.
Right.
And that's fine as long as he's not, like, wielding his power in a way that's, you know, a different version. Like, okay, he's not sexually harassing people like the Italian guy, so that's good. But at the same time, he is kind of taking this mannequin into back rooms and then locking doors.
I mean, I think
I'm looking for good judgment here.
Yeah, I feel like and it's not someone with, like, a ton of history or, I mean, it is like, yeah, it's like, that would be creepy. Mm-hmm. Like, I found it weird. So there was one scene where basically, you realize that a lot of the workers have kind of known about this.
Yes.
And it's like a regular thing to,
yes.
like, kind of spy on him. It's just become like a thing you do.
Mm-hmm. Also notice that he's taken a particular liking to one particular mannequin.
And so, and they all, like, sort of listen into him having sex, like, to making out or
was talking
whatever.
too.
Right, yeah. And they don't think about it. But then also, it's kind of like, can you imagine working in a place where, like, that is happening? And then, but it's like, but then they praise him, like, they're like, thank you. And granted, he is making it so that their jobs, like, are, gonna keep going maybe. But, like, instead of, like, the attitude isn't like, oh my God, this is so creepy. It's more like,
he's doing it again.
This is great. And then they're like, when he comes out, they're like, thank you, and, like, clapping. That was a little weird.
Yeah, they applauded him when he woke up, when he was woken up in the fur thing. Never mind, G.W. Daly's character woke up and he was all passed out, and that was just an outrage.
Oh, totally, yeah. It's like he is naked on all the furs, which you can't now. Incredibly expensive merchandise. Who's gonna sell it?
Naked on all the furs, you say?
Yes.
He's a genius.
That's very true.
I mean, why didn't I think about that?
I mean, I would love to do that. Anyway.
When I was watching, I was thinking, like, artist falls in love with his creation. Is that a thing? Does that sound familiar? And then I felt like a moron. Yeah, there's a whole thing about that.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I was looking at, was it Pygmalion?
Yeah, I mean, there's that. There's
Well, yeah. And then in turn from that particular thing came from My Fair Lady. So then I wrote down, hey, some of us have My Fair Lady. That's you. Some of us have Mannequin. That's me.
Right.
You can't judge me.
You're fair. That's fair. So when you were saying, what changed in the next few days other than just slowly singing Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now?
Just that. That song makes me so peppy,
really?
So happy. And there's this great scene in the movie The Skeleton Twins with Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig where they're having a fight, and so he turns that song on and tries to get her to feel better by doing that. And I will link to that in the show notes. And it just, I'm like, this is exactly what I want to do in my apartment. I want to rock out and lip sync with my partner to Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now. I tried it a few times. Ryan just looks at me weird and then leaves.
Oh, well. You need to find another song.
Well, then I realized it was also blasting in my earbuds, so he had no idea what I was doing.
Oh, yeah, that might have helped. I think. Yeah, it's hard to have a moment. So basically, you're in a silent disco, and he is not.
Oh, I mean, well, at the very least...
That's pretty much what you were creating.
But
that's
it works,
the vibe.
But it works out better when he knows that I'm in a silent disco.
Perhaps.
I mean... I've seen one. It does look funny, but when you're rocking out to it, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I'd also like to give credit to Ryan for some observation that he made when it comes to Roxy. I mean, her character from like the very...
So that's the ex-girlfriend.
That's the ex-girlfriend, yeah. Right. So from the basic beats of it, she's just like, oh, this guy is a slacker and this guy does this and then we're through, this is over. But looking at it from an adult, it's like... Well, he is having a hard time keeping himself together, but ultimately he is kind of irresponsible, and he does kind of stand her up. So
Yeah,
Ryan had mentioned that it takes a while for her to become unsympathetic.
Yes. Well, because at first she's kind of like a little embarrassed, and because she's actually like, she's
working for the rival department store.
Yeah, and she's also a real go-getter.
Yes.
Like, that becomes really clear that
Nothing
she's
wrong with that.
like, yeah. And I mean, they sort of like make fun of that because at one point they go, like, this is one of my favorite moments where he goes, oh, I hope you're not, to Roxy, her boss goes, I hope you're not getting a conscience. And she's like, no.
I mean, no, well, she had it before. The only thing she didn't want is to, like, watch her boyfriend be perpetually unemployed because he's chasing an artistic dream.
And he was like, he would show up at these places, and it wasn't even like, he would show up at these places, and it was like, he wasn't really trying to be a good employee. He was trying to, like, fulfill his artistic vision.
Yeah.
And instead of looking, it's like, he's in a pizza shop and he's perfectly arranging all the bell peppers.
Yeah.
And the fact is, like, there is a certain amount of attention to detail that's actually important. Like, you should actually care about how you put, like, the bell peppers on the pizza. Like, this is very important.
Or not put bell peppers if they did not order them. That's me hating bell peppers. Go on.
See, I love bell peppers.
Okay.
So, but whatever. Like, but it's about equal distribution, not about, like,
artistic.
Yeah. And in fact, the artistic, like, I was like, that's too many bell peppers.
Turns out that does matter.
It does matter.
Too much of a topping on a pizza?
Yeah, too much.
It matters.
No, it matters. And so there's a certain, like, yeah, it's frustrating because essentially after a while, he stands her up. He doesn't really communicate, and he's become one of those guys who's like, it's their fault that I've lost a bunch of jobs.
Well, there's that, and also it's just like, oh, he rides a motorcycle instead of a limo, so it's like,
yeah,
no,
that was weird.
She wasn't fully on board for that. It's just like, can we please go?
Yeah.
It's there's a visual,
she wasn't. I mean, she was more like, it's uncomfortable. Also, use a helmet. I'm sorry. It's completely unresponsive. It's completely irresponsive. But anyway,
no,
I'm now an old woman, and this is the kind of shit I think about.
Well, there was a car chase, so
yeah, I feel like I would have really appreciated if they were, if I felt like I didn't have to watch it going, a concussion's really going to get in the way of your artistic ability.
But he's a hero, and he's young, so he's going to live forever, like his mannequin.
Yeah, I have to say one thing watching this movie. There's something about Andrew, like, in a weird way, in Pretty in Pink, my memory was definitely like, I was, very much for the Andrew McCarthy character. And I was also like super into Deb, but like embarrassingly, I was sort of like, I kind of like the preppy guy. I mean, I also like the weird guy, but I think, this movie was like, this is a terrible, but there's something about Andrew McCarthy in love, like when he plays somebody in love, that is so sweet.
My word was endearing.
Yeah, it's so endearing, like his sort of delight. And like I'd say Kim Cattrall, like I have a newfound, I've always really liked her, but man, I have a respect to make this character, to make me not want to like reach in and just twist her head off.
And that's possible.
Yes, that's the thing. I really had that moment where I'm like, oh my God, she's like, when she became a mannequin again, I'm like, but then I'm like, but she does a great job. But like, so there is a certain, in that way, like, yeah, the rest of the moments I find him in like just annoying, like kind of it's waste of space as an adult. Like I think if I was younger, I think I would have enjoyed this idea of, because there's like, it's also like you're living in your own secret world, which isn't that how you feel when you're in love?
Yes.
Like you're living in your own secret world that no one understands, that no one could possibly understand, like, which is of course absurd because lots of people have been in love, but you feel that way. And I think like in that way, if I saw this movie, I think when I was younger, maybe this part that would have been an attractive feature.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I just keep thinking about how I like Hollywood Montrose so much, but he's just like, oh, make me cringe. Stop it. Knock it off.
I know, that was the thing. It's actually difficult because you're like, and when he's on, you're kind of delighted. But then there's this, like, you go back and forth to being, like, delighted and also, like, embarrassed.
Yes.
Delighted, embarrassed.
Well, remember, in my version of the movie, all 15 minutes of it,
right,
all he's doing is helping true love come together.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just, using a fire hose, which I should not be on board for that, because that's hurting people.
No.
That's like total abuse of property. But yeah, you keep those crappy security people from who are just doing their jobs.
Also, I think, you're a lifelong Californian, and I'm sure watching that kind of water waste was probably difficult. It was difficult for me.
It was not great.
Yeah.
But at the same time, yay, Hollywood Montrose.
Hollywood Montrose. Fantastic glasses.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's time?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
You going to do it? All right. So, when do they fall in love, my dear?
That's an interesting question, Polina. I haven't thought about it. No.
That's me asking, bringing the hard, the hard-hitting questions.
No, I think given the multiple lifelong experiences. Now, granted, she was in some sort of like not being able to do anything form. She came to life apparently way back in the day with, Michelangelo's time and all these other different things she made reference to that I don't remember all of them. Yeah. So this is a worldly person who knew she needed to live in a time that was more accepting of what she could do. So.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So in turn.
And she does say that, actually.
She does. And so I think she had all of this going on. She was able to be created from him. So I think that she was actually in love with him and knew that he was the one when she came to life that first time. Because she's like, I know what I can do, and my life will be tied to this person. I know what I'm doing. So I think she knew coming into the first time she came to life. Mm-hmm. That's my version for her.
Wait, do you mean...
Like, when she decided, I'm going to make myself, like, I'm going to be alive, and this one is going to be mine.
Okay.
Yeah. I think she knew, like, even before she was human, but she decided, yes, this is the one right here. Mm-hmm. I'm going to become alive for him.
I was about to ask you procedural questions, and then I realized, not the point.
Mannequin. She is a mannequin.
Yeah. No, I know, but anyway. Okay, so when did he fall in love?
I can clarify if you want.
Makes my head.
I'm going to say, in this movie, when he trusts her enough, her words, to say, you need to stop being so dependent on me, and Hollywood wants to learn from you. You can do this, make it happen. And he goes, okay. And he actually decides, I will take Hollywood and show him the things that she does. Mm-hmm. She's one, but the fact that she trusts me as much as he does, the fact that he took her at her word despite having no faith in himself, that was his thing. Mm-hmm. That was his moment. And then when he's like, okay, I'm going to do this because she says that I can. Now that's him still being wobbly in his life, but that's him having a complete, fold in on his love for her.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like that.
Yep.
So I had the sort of the same thoughts with her falling in love with him, like a similar sort of idea. So my sort of idea of how the magic happens.
This isn't magic, Polina. It's science.
But she says it's a magician in Egypt, doesn't she? A spell. Anyway, basically this is how it works: is she finds a way, like, she basically finds somebody and then makes them create something that she can then her corporal form can live on in, right? So she's basically like a soul wandering around. And so she spies him somehow, and and maybe it's a sort of maybe it is his sort of guilelessness, his sort of obsession
with bell peppers.
With bell peppers, or just with like creating beautiful, like having things be beautiful. Maybe, and maybe she's, she's tried doing this with more famous artists, and she's like, well, that didn't work well. So, and as you said, she's like, I want some freedom in this, and so maybe she could see that. Maybe he's in love with the creation, but he's genuinely in love with not just the form of the creation. That
right.
he would be like a good match, in that she gets to be free and learn, and so then she kind of plants herself in his head.
Well, if you also remember, the form of her, he was enamored with immediately. Right. But it's watching her go off. Remember when she got into the glider?
Yes.
And she's like, I wanted to fly, and then I did.
Right. And
that's
he's
something that's
so delighted.
Yeah, that's something beyond just the form.
Right.
Instead, it's just like everything that's kind of coming out of her, and just, more impressive. I know I can. Let's make it happen.
Right.
How can you not fall in love with that?
Oh, no. I mean, it's amazing. It's like, that's what you want from love, is this feeling of anything. He says it. I feel like I can do anything. And I think...
But only in this department store.
Yeah, exactly. I can never leave. Yeah, I felt like actually that was going to be one of my falling in love moments, was when he sees her in the glider.
Really? Oh.
Because, his just delight. But actually, they do that first music video thing. And, it's so ridiculous. Like, basically, they put on one song, and then they compile these, like, complicated, sort of sequences for no apparent reason.
I want to put that on my bucket list.
Well, it's just like...
to record a elaborate music video montage situation.
Yeah. That is a good one.
Yes.
So he just... I think that, in a way, the fact that... Like, he just seems very lonely. He's really accepted the fact that he's going to be lonely and misunderstood, and no one else sort of sees the world the way he does. Like, certainly his relationship, like, you're supposed to not feel bad that the girlfriend, is, like, gets summarily dismissed or breaks up or whatever. Like, so she is, like, a rather, she's basically a rather unlikable character.
The ex-girlfriend?
The ex-girlfriend.
Got it.
But it's also like he's in an unhappy relationship where she's frustrated with him. He, her goals and interests are now a little different.
That's fine.
And which is fine. But like they really, him and Emmy, really play together, and they have fun together, and there's a real like... So I felt like maybe he felt love there, because that's somebody whose brain really worked like his, and had like a similar visual language, and enjoyed seeing... You never actually see him sculpt.
Right.
So you don't actually know what his aesthetic sense is.
Did you watch Sex and the City?
Yes.
Would you say that Roxy was more of a Miranda?
I guess so.
Okay. And he found himself a Samantha.
Yeah. But Samantha was like... Yeah, anyway, but I think he fell in love with like her then, because it was like, here's somebody that's not just beautiful, I can play with. Like, we can really kind of explore, like, just, kind of visual ideas or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
You think I'm not going to tilt my head in happiness on the love origin story?
Yeah. Aww. All right. So, what's going to happen to these two crazy kids?
Did you mention her, or did I miss it?
Yeah, I did. I said that she kind of ended up in his head.
Oh.
Like, she chose him because...
I got it.
Because she could really kind of come into, like... She could, come into her own, and his sort of sweetness and his approach. I don't know. We don't actually.
It was all magical, so
yeah,
I got caught up in the magic.
So, yeah. So what do you think is going to happen to them?
Well, So he is...
Now she's in her corporal form.
Well, if you remember correctly, he's now vice president of some fancy title that I resented as it was happening. So, I mean, she has to be like this particular... So the end, true to 80s form, you've got them just kind of frozen in their own display.
Right.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing where it's just like, oh, their little thing. If it was now, like, they would go viral and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So how are they not going to become a, international sensation designing windows together all over the world? And sadly, Hollywood doesn't get to come with them because he appears in the sequel and they don't. I'm guessing you never saw the sequel.
You would guess right.
I mean, because why would you
ever see the sequel?
Of course I've seen the sequel. Of course I've seen it.
Okay.
What I remember
Just
about it, like,
tell me.
maybe like 4 minutes of it. If I remember 15 minutes of the first one, and typically the sequel is not as good as the original, I probably only remember about 4 minutes of the sequel.
Were they a good 4 minutes?
It's got the guy from Weekend at Bernie's in it.
You're not really selling it.
Well, he's in Weekend at Bernie's with Andrew McCarthy, so it all comes together.
Right.
There's a great line from Hollywood Montrose talking about how they're trying to escape from, I guess, the security guard equivalent of the second movie. And he's asking, like, how are you able to do all this? This really cool, like, getting down low and being able to be all tactile and trying to get out in some sort of, like, SEAL Team 6 form. He's like, I joined the military. They were looking for a few good men. So was I. Yep, that's the only good part of that movie.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know if that's true.
I'm okay with not seeing it.
It's been years.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like sequels, and I don't like this movie.
That's
so
right.
I don't see myself seeing it.
Okay.
But having said that, so they're gonna do this. They're gonna all over the world. They're gonna do these.
He's gonna sculpt some kids for them. Actually, I don't know. How does that even work? Like, are they gonna have like some serious issues when they have like fertility issues because she's a mannequin?
Is she a mannequin? Isn't she like just fully human? Isn't the spell broken?
I don't know, Polina. It's science. No, I'm gonna keep it a little bit realistic here. My movie Mannequin, I'm gonna keep it a little bit realistic.
I mean, it's a fantasy movie. You're allowed to, if you don't want to. I'm not gonna hold you to reality.
Yeah, here. No, I'm just gonna go with they go. Yeah, no.
I like that's a nice one.
I think so. I'm
so
gonna go
basically
with that.
They become, so this is their life now, is they jet set around the world.
Husband and wife team.
Nice.
Making very nice displays.
Oh my God, yours is so much better than mine.
What is yours?
Mine was like...
She actually falls into the shredder. That's morbid, Polina. Why would you say that?
No, I'm not that bad. No, I basically think they she gets sick of, because he basically still is thinking small, even though basically something so mind-blowing has happened. He's still
he's still thinking about those bell peppers.
He still thinks he's happy. He wants, first off, he is gonna feel like Claire Prince. I can only see half of her name on this little thing, but the Estelle Getty character.
Oh, yes, Estelle Getty's character.
Yeah, Claire, who owns the store. He's going to feel, he said he's like super loyal.
Yes, he is.
So he's going to stay there for a long time, and she's going to get really itchy.
Oh.
And so, and then, I don't know. I just think he's still like going to think too small. The other thing is that basically he's been hired as this merchandising thing, and I think that basically he hires her to do all the windows, and then he just becomes super cranky because he's having to do all these things that he isn't good at.
On the administrative side?
On the administrative side, he's not good at everyone's. Yeah, he's like Peter. He's basically Peter Principled, into a job. Then he has to manage all these people, including Hollywood, but really manage. He has a budget. Has to learn all these management things. He has to
stop fraternizing with the mannequins.
Right, he has to stop fraternizing with the mannequins, and maybe that's actually a thing. that he likes, and that's like very difficult for her to swallow. But I think she gets itchy, and I think that like then they fight because she actually, you know,
She can leave the department store now.
she can leave the department store now, and also she actually is like does get to do what she wants, and her career, you know, she probably does want to travel now that she's got like ultimate freedom, and he is just kind of, you know, gonna get subsumed by the ridiculousness of like a department store rather than your kind of thinking bigger and being like, oh, actually I can have a life where I get to play all the time. And she actually can have that life. Whereas I think he's going to be like, oh, well, I need to help Estelle. I need to get this merchandising under control. Like at some point, maybe people get bored of staring at the windows, or the other place finds one other window dresser, or she moves to New York. Like, I mean, I don't know. A lot of things can happen, and you know, the end of retail is nigh. And
this got dark.
Yeah. So I kind of like yours better because yours means that he really does break out of his like little like small sad sack world.
Well, with you saying that he's very loyal, absolutely, I think he is going to be loyal, but he's going to be loyal to her, and she's going to be the one who wants to expand,
right? And
he's going to go along on that journey. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, that's Mannequin.
That was Mannequin.
I'm kind of glad that you made me see it, because it's just one of those movies. Well, no.
You can protest.
No, but it'd be so awkward if I showed up being like, I didn't watch the movie.
Well, this is when you veto off-air, Polina.
Well, no, I was actually kind of interested in seeing it just because it was, I mean, like, I remember when this movie came out. I know lots of people who really liked it when I was a kid.
Nice.
And so but it's problematic, to say the least.
What? I mean, yeah.
What about like...
Duh.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like every single aspect of it. But
did I not mention Egypt and stereotypes and Hollywood Montrose? Why can't you just be that cool guy who was, you know, keeping love together?
Right. Yeah. Ugh.
Was it the sunglasses?
Oh, the sunglasses were there's nothing wrong with those.
I did appreciate Andrew McCarthy calling the security guard a bigot to his face.
Yeah, that was nice.
That was good.
Yeah.
That's a good start, movie.
Right.
All right.
Right. They tried. It was 1987 after. Okay, so.
Tone it down on the sexual harassment, and maybe we can get Mannequin 3.
Right. Please tone down on the sexual harassment.
So if it's Mannequin 2 on the move, Mannequin 3 could be back in the box.
Right. You know what'd be cool is if the Italian sexual harasser guy became a mannequin.
I would just want him in the shredder.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And then we send him in the shredder.
Yep.
Can I just say one thing on that note? So at the end of the movie, when she comes to life.
Yes.
Basically, there's like a guy who's working night shift in the little shredding department who suddenly is like, oh my God, this is working right now? Like I have mannequin, like beautiful mannequins come to life.
Right.
And so he starts like going through sort of the aftermath of the whole shredding incident, and he sees the ex-girlfriend Roxy like lying there.
Yeah, she got pummeled by a whole bunch of papers.
Everyone passes out very easily. This is passing out in this movie is like, anyway. So he kisses her to like bring her back to life, and she wakes up and she's like, stop it, and just keeps like, so while this guy is basically like sexually assaulting her, and she's screaming like, stop it, and trying to get away, we have Jonathan and Emma just like, oh well, like, we're in love, like, isn't like, never says anything to her, like, hey, dude, she said no, we're here, like, stop it.
Yes.
Or even just like, you would just think as a human being, like, that would be a thing you want to do.
Well, I agree in principle, but I will also say that Roxy did try to murder Emmy. That
is an excellent...
I'm not saying one deserves the other. I'm just going to say that by that point, murderer.
That is okay. I didn't think
Attempted
about that.
murder.
I didn't think about that. You're right. I was a little less focused, maybe.
No, you're absolutely correct in that whole, like, get off me, get off me. But I think the implication is meant to be Roxy is such a strong-willed woman, she will kick the crap out of him eventually.
Right. But eventually. Like, they're fighting for a while. Like,
she was inhaling wood chips, so I think she needed to recover from that first before she got to the shin.
Yeah. All right. Well,
but no, I
feel positive.
No, I like Ryan's observation. Roxy, it's supposed to be like, oh, ex-girlfriend, she deserves everything. That's it. No, she doesn't deserve these types of things.
She's awful.
She's awful in various ways, but she's not like the epitome of evil that I'm used to in ex-girlfriends.
Right. Like, I mean, I think her problems with him at the beginning are legit. Like, her whole sort of like,
even with the
abuse, like, I mean, so her sort of all that weird manipulating stuff she does later, and trying to kill the mannequin is like a bit.
Well, to be fair though,
horrible.
she is jealous of a mannequin, not of a actual woman.
Right.
I mean, I've been jealous of Ryan's laptop.
I think we all have.
Yeah.
I mean, of our of things. Anyway, okay. so that was the movie. What else is going on?
Well,
what's happening next?
Well, what's happening next is I want to say absolutely thank you to our person who left us a review.
Oh, nice.
On iTunes.
What did they say?
Oh, okay. Well, it's 5 stars.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, it's funny and insightful. That's just so kind.
Oh my God, that's so nice.
Okay, so great podcast, which made me think of few movies. Cough, cough, overboard. Made me rethink a few movies. Sorry, cough, cough, overboard.
You're our people.
Yeah. Brings more to the table than most film podcasts and definitely worth a listen. This is from Erica. Customers also watched. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so nice. Thank you so much, Erica.
That is so nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hold on, Polina's having a moment.
I am. That's so nice.
I'm going to let you have your moment.
Wow.
Okay, your moment's over.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So we greatly appreciate that. And
I'll be revisiting that in dark times.
We'll greatly appreciate the reviews. And if you would like to
so much.
Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, we'd appreciate that.
Yes, yes. You can see how much we do. So, as like I wipe the tears of verklemtness away from my face.
Yeah, it's so great.
I'm so verklempt. It's like my face is just creating tears and moisture.
Well, I mean, if you'd like, we can always have something from our sponsor, Frankie and Maher, just kind of pep you right back up again.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah. So recently,
any ideas?
Well, I got mint condition not too long ago.
Yeah. Ooh,
and this
one fascinated me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it's just like, I don't want to say it stings because that has a bad connotation to it, but it's like
bracing.
It's bracing. Thank you. It's kind of like, those Dentine ice commercials where it's just like the and like the ice comes out. It's not for the faint of smell, I guess, because it's very
bracing.
Yeah. So I think that might work for your crying.
It might. It'd be sort of, it's like sort of gets me out of it.
Yeah.
It must be very rejuvenating.
Oh, that's actually a great word for it. I think so. I mean, it calls mint condition. It's meant to get you back there.
Oh, nice.
I think it did a really good job.
Yeah, that would be good after this week. I may have to steal some.
Oh, you are welcome to it.
Thank you.
And you are welcome to it, to our listeners, if you want to go to frankieandmer.com.
Yeah, what about other people who want to feel brand new and refreshed?
So it's Frankie and Maher, that's Myrrh. And if you go to checkout and you use the promo code HAPPILY.
HAPPILY.
Yeah, you'll get 20% off, and orders over 35 get free domestic shipping.
Ooh.
Yep.
Ooh.
So that's how you do that there.
Ooh.
You can be refreshed. You can save 20%. And
it will just come to your door in delightful packaging without you having to spend money on that.
It's very nice.
It's very nice.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much to our sponsor, Frankie and Maher.
Yeah.
Cool.
You guys they're awesome in so many ways.
Yep. And for those of you who want to share any of your thoughts, we're on Twitter at HEAMCast.
HEAMCAST.
And we're also on Facebook at Happily Ever Aftermath.
We are.
Shout out to the Lady Pod Squad.
The best.
We are very happy to be a part of that group. And if you want to look up any social media, get the hashtag Lady Pod Squad. You can find all the different podcasts out there, including Erica from Customers Also Watched.
Yeah. She, there's just some great stuff in whatever you're into. Some really smart ladies chatting about literally everything under the sun.
I think you'll be happy with what you'll find there.
Yeah.
All
Every
right.
time I reach into that grab bag, I'm always happy.
Awesome there. Okay. Next time.
Yeah.
I feel it in my fingers and I feel it in my toes.
Wow. Is it everywhere you go?
It is all around me.
Uh-huh.
And so the feeling something Christmas. That's the way they rewrote the song, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't want a lot. No, that's another movie.
And we're talking about Love Actually.
Yes.
Yeah. So
the holiday classic.
I don't think you get to call anything that was made in the 2000s a classic because then we'll be old.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is good. I feel like, I go through my Scrooge moments, and I feel like maybe what I'm hoping from rewatching this movie is it will get me out of my Scrooge-ness.
Interesting.
Because I feel like not quite ready to go into that holiday mood, but I have a feeling I will be by the time I watch it.
We'll get there.
Okay,
Yeah.
you'll help me get there.
Love Actually, 2003.
Right.
It's a good one, and we look forward to talking to you about it then.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Can't wait.
Okay.
See you then.